Welcome to the Alive Loren Podcast, in the place of celebrating juicy, soulful, whole living. Oh, and it's been a while. It's been a really long while. So the idea always with the podcast was to create like a somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, just sharing an insight, an inspiration, a story that has shifted something in my world to live more presently, fully, gratefully, whatever it is, just more juicily, and to capture it in terms of honoring, being grateful, to actually verbalize, and in the hope and intention that anybody should come across it, that it would be of value too. So this one is, recently I had like this aha that was like, seems like the most simple, obvious, trivial little aha. That's like, how could that even be an aha? But it was massive for me. And it's shifted, so I don't know if you can relate or have had like a similar experience. So this was around mornings. So for the longest time, I find mornings really challenging. I don't know, wherever I've drifted off, when I come back and I wake up, it's like a part of me just so wants to just close my eyes and drift off again. And I know the whole thing is about the magic of like amazing it is to be back for another day and another adventure and to be back in a body, because there are like tens of thousands, if not more, people who every day go to sleep and they don't wake up. They literally die in their sleep. So the fact that you wake up is like a pretty big deal, that you get to adventure for another day or another however many minutes you have the next while. But along this vein, right, so then I have often been quite hard on myself about this, really wanting to wake up bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, eyes bursting open, just like bursting with joy and enthusiasm for the day ahead, and bounding out of bed and trying all different things through the years and all these different methodologies. And then this thing just dawned on me the other day. It was like this little whisper in my ear of like, do you remember when you were young and we stayed somewhere where a lot of people had cars on the property and there weren't sufficient garages, so a lot of cars were parked outside. God, this is like a long time ago. This is like 3-4 decades ago. So in those days, I mean, things are probably different now, but like South African winter, cars outside. So I just remember where we used to stay, that one guy used to go and start all the cars a little bit before people were leaving, and they were just idle. So I'm not getting into this from a like environmental point of view. It was more just that this memory came back about how these cars weren't expected to be in the freezing cold the entire night and just magically be turned on and be revving to go. It was like perfectly acceptable that they were cold and freezing and they needed time to warm up. No one expected anything else. And I was like, oh, what if you say, I'm not the kind of deep, like lethargy and not with it in the morning energy, like literally as I'm waking up. That's just what I'm experiencing. And this body right now, in this phase of my life, for whatever reason, needs some time to warm up. That's all it is. It doesn't need to have weight on it. It doesn't need to have judgment on it. It's just what it is. And then this thought process went down a few other avenues of like, if you put the kettle on to boil, no one expects the moment you turn the switch that it's boiling. It is a process, and the element warms up and the water warms up and it gets to a certain point when it triggers a certain thing and then it's boiling. And equally, if you're cooking and you're going to do something where you're going to put some oil or butter in the pan, and generally you need to wait till it's like sizzling hot for the next phase. You don't, the minute you put it in the pan, it's not at the right temperature. And that's like, it's just so obvious. So this was like huge for me, because now it's actually just okay. It doesn't need to have all this emotional weight and all the stuff around it. It's just like, I need some time in the morning to warm up and to figure out my little warm-up routine, be it some stretching, some breathing, like whatever it is, some reading something a bit more inspiring and framing for my day, that it's actually all good. It's all fine. So that was huge. And just as a teeny weeny, bite size, itsy bitsy, getting going again with these sharing. That is it for today. So I leave you and love you, precious soul. Until we meet again, may you too be blessed to celebrate teeny tiny ahas that have massive, oh my God, okay, wait. We're not quite finished. Because this came full circle. So a friend of mine read like this book that she never thought she'd enjoy it. It was a bit of like a time travel thing where people would go into like a coffee shop and then they sat at a certain place, they'd travel back in time. But it wasn't like a sci-fi thing. She said because she wanted to experience different authors, and this was a Japanese author, so that there were some good reviews about this book. But anyways, she said it landed up being beautiful because it was more philosophical and about shifting mindsets and paradigms. And she said what would happen is, because when you came back, like nothing actually changed. People would go back in these events and then they would experience or see something or see a point of view that they didn't know before that would actually like completely shift their experience, the way they viewed that person or the experience in a much more empowering, grateful, juicy way. So when we were chatting about this, we came up with this phrase about like having this transformative moment where everything changes, although nothing changes. Like everything changes, although everything stays the same. And it was just like so amazing because they'd come back and it wasn't like everything stayed the same, but everything changed because they had a new dimension of understanding of maybe someone that they had like a negative impression of, so it's like, I then with this wish you that please, God, may you also experience these shifts and ahas and moments of inspiration and memory that shift into gear of a more kind of juicy, soulful, whole living where everything changes without changing anything. That was the line. Where everything changes without changing anything. Until we meet again.